Hi everyone! Today we are going to be looking at the world religion called Judaism. So make sure you've got those guided notes and let's jot down the learning target. I can describe the background and the three main beliefs of Judaism. So make sure you've got that and keep that in mind that you want to get those three main beliefs as we work through this lesson together. All right, before we get into actually Judaism, let's think back for a minute about what we've learned about religions from our River Valley Civilization unit. And if you remember, Egypt, Mesopotamia, they were polytheistic, meaning that they believed in many gods. They had a god of the sun and a god of the harvest and a god of the afterworld, so many, many gods. But as we move forward in history, things are starting to change. People are starting to think differently about their gods. So I want you to just jot down, what way do you think people are going to think differently about their gods? Just make a quick prediction. All right, let's take it back to Judaism. So let's just look at where Judaism began. It begins in Mesopotamia. So the founder was actually raised and had a family that was from Mesopotamia. And he ended up taking them, it ends up in present-day Israel. So Israel is sort of in between Egypt and Mesopotamia, as you can see. But that is considered the promised land of the Jewish people. So who began Judaism? What are the origins? What is the start? Well, it is the world's first monotheistic religion, so that's what it's most known for. And it was founded about 4,000 years ago in what is now present-day Israel. And that first main belief of Judaism is that there is only one God. So the idea of monotheism, the idea that there is only one God, comes first in Judaism. Well, how did this sort of happen? So the story goes that in ancient Mesopotamia, there was a man called Abraham, and he is called on by a god. The God tells him that there is only one God, and there are no other gods. And if you believe this, then you'll follow me. So Abraham was a faithful man. He listens, he hears what God says, and he waits for instructions. That leads us to the second main belief of Judaism, which is called the covenant. Now, the covenant is also that agreement between Abraham and between God. And basically what that says, if you take my people out of Mesopotamia, bring them to the promised land of Israel, then you will have a big family, and everyone in your family, from your descendants, your ancestors that are coming, will be considered the chosen people, and you will have fortune. God will have his back. He promises Abraham that this fortune will last forever as long as they followed God's word. Now that leads us to the third main belief, which is following God's law. So, third main belief, they should follow God's laws. Now, where did these laws come from? Well, their story goes that there was a man named Moses who came a couple hundred years after Abraham. And he went up to a mountain called Mount Sinai, and God called him there. And God said, okay, I think you need a written set of laws. So here are the 10 commandments. I'm going to give these to you, and that's what you follow. So Moses was given the 10 commandments by God. Now, what were these 10 commandments? They're basically the rules of worship and tell you what you can and cannot do. So if we look at these, rules of worship, you shall have no gods before me, meaning there's only one God. Remember and keep the Sabbath day holy. So celebrate, worship on the Sabbath day. You shall not kill. That's your behavior, what you cannot do. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness, which means to lie. So basically, how to be a good person. So those were those guidelines for how Jewish people should practice and what they should do. Now, God does have sort of a caveat, and he says that if you follow these and do good deeds, you'll be rewarded. But bad deeds will be punished. So it's got that sense of justice. Now, the Ten Commandments were one piece of written history, but there's a book. The Hebrew Bible is a book of all of the history of Judaism. The Torah is a specific part of the Hebrew Bible. It's the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible. And what it does, it helps to explain the history of Judaism. It helps to explain the history of Judaism. It tells that story of Abraham. It tells the story of Moses. It's got the 10 Commandments in there. So it's a really important book. Now, as we study Judaism, there's some common terminology that you might hear. Jewish are the people that practice Judaism. So if you hear someone say, I'm Jewish, or they're Jewish, they practice the religion Judaism. A rabbi is a Jewish scholar who tends to lead temple services and teach the beliefs of Judaism. And then the synagogue is the place of worship in the religion of Judaism. Now, hopefully after this, you've got those 3 main beliefs. And remember in the beginning, I asked you to predict, in what ways do you think people are going to think differently about their gods? If you wrote down that there's just one God instead of many gods, you would be correct. So hopefully now you understand that monotheism, following the law, and the idea of the covenant are the 3 main beliefs of Judaism.